Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Gore column in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out important news. With us today for our long weekend edition, because he's making us work on a Friday before the long weekend, Bernard Tourniel, CEO, HPQ Silicon Resources, and wondering how long that name is going to be around. We'll talk about that. Trades in Canada, stock symbol HPQ for a French NDAs under HPQFF. Guys, normally I go through the introduction of everything that HPQ is doing. But suffice to say, they're on the cusp of something really great. So let's get straight to that with the press release. And we're announcing that what we're talking about today is the announcement that ownership of the PUREVAP Quartz reduction reactor pilot system has been transferred to HPQ Silicon. Bernard, welcome back, my friend. That's quite the party shirt going into the long weekend.
Yeah, well, I got to restart my tradition of, good shirts, good interviews.
Right, yeah, that's a nice
boring shirts. The interviews are not good.
I don't know what color people are seeing at home, but I'm seeing aqua
it's
blue.
Pink flamingos, for God's sakes, it's Friday. There'll be tequila at the end of the day. Come on.
Well, it's good to see you're in good spirits, man. That's always a good sign for everybody. So question for you, the obvious first question. What does transfer of ownership signify? Why now?
Because now's the time. It's funny because I agreed it's a bit of a bureaucratic type of press release where we had just something to announce, but for me there was a lot of things to explain. I felt that there's a lot of misunderstanding about what we are doing at this stage with the Gen 3 QRR. This is an R&D project, okay, and there's going to be a lot of R&D money spent. We've mentioned in the previous press release, I think $2 million is the cost of this 12-month program. And that basically generates R&D credit. And under the term of the contract, HPQ is the sole owner of those R&D credits, but we cannot claim R&D credit if the equipment does not belong to us. So there was no need, no urgency, no panic to do it until we get close to the machine starting. Then we realized, we got to get this done. So, we started this process as we got into the 95% commissioning completion. We started this process. You would think it'd be easy to insure this, but, there was a lot of question.
Well, this is the car, right? You're not insuring a car.
We're not insuring a car. We're insuring a basically unique equipment that was specifically designed for doing what it's going to do, which is validate the quartz reduction technology, the PUREVAP quartz reduction technology, which is our ability to transform quartz into high purity silicone in one step, higher purity, and which is going to be 4N and above. That's what we're aiming for. So it was just, it was sort of also a way for us to give an update where we are in the process. We said, I believe 6 weeks ago that we're at 95%. It's starting to look like the Apple Minute, but it's
well, okay. You're 1N when we last.
Well, it's
So where are you at right now? Are you 2N? Are you 3N? How close do you think you are right now?
I would dare to say if our goal is to make 6N, we're closer to 4N, 5N. It's really almost.
Because you do say people did comment on this on the Gorecom, the imminent completion of the commissioning.
Oh, come on. I made 2 jokes about this. I said the forthcoming start and the imminent completion. I decided to go full Monty on this one. Come on.
Yeah, because I had that too. It's like, why is there forthcoming and imminent? But all kidding aside,
because I'm so bad at giving timeline because it's R&D. So I know that people are getting tired of this, but this is just the reality. Just to give you an idea how weird things are. For us to get the insurance, it took us 2 months. It took a month of the first insurance to say no. Then we went to the second insurance, and
so you wouldn't have even been really able to start it all up without the insurance. Could you?
Well, it was insured by Pyro. As long as it was owned by Pyro, it was insured by Pyro. Okay, but when Pyro transferred the ownership, it's right. We then become responsible for insuring the value. We had to insure the value. So, luckily this allowed us to finalize everything. So the first key point I want to get people to understand, R&D project, okay? So when and an R&D project for an R&D machine to be able to get R&D credit, there is no performance guarantee that the manufacturer can give you. Because if he gives you performance guarantee, you don't get R&D credit. Research and development. And we just hope it doesn't become research and destroy. That's the other issue. That's an internal joke.
Yeah, not a lot of people are going to laugh at that, but yeah, we know.
We have the insurance on it, so we're good.
So
you
said imminent completion, forthcoming start. You all said the potential of new silicon materials manufacture will soon come to fruition. So where are we on?
Well, two things. We skipped one, but we skipped one thing that I also wanted to pass in the press release is that get people to understand HPQ, and I keep saying this, we're at the forefront. Okay, well, this is another demonstration of the forefront. For whatever reason, we started this in 2015, 2016, and we are now in 2022. We're getting our pilot plant done, which is a bit longer, but not abnormal. But then in the crazy market that we are, okay, just the value of rebuilding the plant, not designing it, okay, is now 6.2 million. That gives you an idea how much has gone up, because it was 4.24 million that we paid to design the system, which is the key, which is probably the most important, and to build it. So the barriers to entry is for anybody that's even thinking of copying us, which I've gone through the roof. I've become astronomical. And within the next few, whatever, okay, forthcoming, when we start the system, we'll be starting to demonstrate that we're leapfrogging the technologies of everybody else. So I understand there's sort of a flux into it, but we're getting damn close to the moment start. I can't wait to do our next interview, which is when I say when the commission is going to be over, and I'll be doing it from the plant.
Okay, so that's a little breadcrumb for everybody, for me and everybody. So it's that close, right? Because you put out press releases pretty frequently, so it's not as if. We'll be doing the next.
I've gone pretty quiet on this because, as I said, it's sort of binary now. I'll give you another example: the patent thing. We got the letter from the thing telling us the patent was imminent, and we got it 2 months later. I'm not putting that in time. I'm just saying it's just the way it is. It's binary. Until it's finished, it's not finished. But we're almost there. I would dare to say, if we bring it in, as somebody once wrote it, similar to a giving birth, I think the baby is starting to move the way in the canal.
All right. So and that's about the closest we're ever going to get you, because I know I can never pin you down. No one can ever pin you down on, hey, can we say May 30th? Can we say June 15th? But if the baby's in the canal, I guess me and everyone at home, that's what we're going to have to. That's probably going to be the catchphrase of this interview. The baby is in the canal.
The baby in the canal. No, but we're close to 6, and we can make whatever analogies. Okay. We're almost there. Yeah, it's as frustrating for me as it is for everybody, but people are, I think, making a bigger thing out of this.
But are you more frustrated? Or are you more excited?
I'm not. To be totally honest, it's like.
You're not frustrated by it. You're always excited.
I'm on daily contact with the guys at Pyro. I understand what's going on. It's just the incredible. We're living in a completely new paradigm of manufacturing and designing, which, to be totally honest, is completely to our advantage. Okay, all right, but it's going to require that things are going to be done differently. What we are doing is really going to be in demand. The idea that we put forward and coming up with new manufacturing process to make silicone is coming to it. The discussion I'm having with different groups on many things are very, very promising about conceptual idea. I think we were ahead of the curve.
Hold on. When you say groups, Bernard, because I know.
It's just like
about maybe the previous people we signed NDAs with, the global auto manufacturer.
I am talking, and it goes back to my senses. I really feel that silicone 2022 and beyond for silicone is going to be really big. And I think a lot of the ideas, the concept that we've been pushing since the beginning creation, since the transformation of Eurogold to HPQ silicone resources, are coming to fruition. I really believe that there will be a push back into trying to manufacture metallurgically produce some solar grade silicone. I really believe this. And from discussion I'm having with some of my contacts in Europe through the grapevine, yes, there is some interest in this, because there's a question now of wanting to repatriate the production of those issues. There's a question of Europe wanting to cut itself from fossil fuel and Russian fuel and all those issues, which will bring back high demands for solar and for wind.
Well, I'm glad you. So that's the next question I have here is, what are you seeing on the macro side? Because there's a lot of shifting, a lot of dominoes that are falling, or we haven't seen fallen just from everything going on in the world. Such a mixed salad. What are you seeing on the macro side of silicon? Because you do say 2022 and beyond going to be years of silicon. So does the current macro environment actually help HPQ?
Like, the best way to explain it is we've been ass lucky. Our delays have been to our advantage like you wouldn't believe. Everything that happened that looked bad has been, if you remove yourself from the tree and look at the forest, has been incredibly positive. Look, I'll just give you an example. The delays are not, they were outside of our control, but they were happening when the market was when the market for technology stock was crashing. So, we actually, if you look on the overall view, we didn't do as bad as almost everybody in the field. And yet, we're just about to come out with why we should do even better going forward. But that was,
you should be moving into your execution growth, the start of your execution growth phase right now.
Well, there's multiple phases of what we've done. And I've seen one of the criticism or one of the comments passed around is, we should just focus on one thing. And I disagree with that completely.
No, I don't think
and the reason being is all the projects we're doing are massively long lead in nature. Okay, they're massively long lead in big industrial project. So if you only have one, and that happens, then the emphasis becoming too big. Well, all the emphasis is on the QRR starting. We have time to work internally, advance our project for fume silica and those issues, and eventually, those projects will come to the forefront and keep going on. So, as a technology company, as an innovation technology provider, I must have a pipeline of product processes to be able to develop. Eventually, some of our processes will become mature enough, to have their own pathways to commercialization. The good news is that, at least with the QRR, that pathway is becoming more evident in the sense that once we've got the QRR working for a few months, we got all the data, then we start building up the business case for going commercial. Once we have the business case and we demonstrate, ROI, we'll start showing up some real numbers at that moment. It's funny, a few years ago, I was laughed at because I said, how can you come up with, order of magnitude of plus or minus 50%? Well, I was sort of proven wrong with the proven right, sorry. Oh, I did a George Bush myself. I was proven right with this. If you look at the price of rebuilding the plant. So everything macro is incredible. The price of silicon, raw silicon is coming on down. You can't restart machine. If building my QRR has gone up in price, imagine what's happening with the big plants.
And actually, I want to ask you how pricing is looking, because in the last press release, a quote from Peter said, I'm using the excerpt, a marketplace estimated by HPQ to be in excess of 3.8 million tons per year, worth of $10 billion by 2025. And I think that was working on a $2,500 per ton price, right? Very conservative. What are you seeing out there in terms of what pricing is potentially looking like right now?
I'm seeing incredibly price strength going forward. Multiple issues behind this, in the sense that because the cost of energy has gone up, the cost of resource, the cost of raw materials gone through the roof. I was reading an article, I think it was on CNBC, and I read other of those articles. Electric car manufacturers cannot get the price of making the batteries down because the raw material keeps going up. Now, silicone is within one of those projects that will come in. It's at the beginning of R&D to be introduced in companies like Group 14 Technologies and Scylla Technologies are all starting to make product. But what investors should understand, and I showed that in my presentation, is that all these guys' feedstock, okay, is silane gas. Even Techna of Quebec, they're using silane gas. Silane gas is the same material, is made for the same process that they make to make solar grade silicon metal. So they have 12 steps to make their feedstock. CapEx are through the roof, okay? Even before the price increase I had, it was $1 billion to build a 10,000 metric ton per year silane gas plant. Jeez. Without counting the transport costs, okay? So I let those guys develop the markets for anode for silicone, okay? Well, I focus on making that same material that they're using economically viable for producer. I will be resolving this issue. But at this stage, I'm focused on step number 1 of that is the QRR working. We're there. We're working on a nano silicone. We're advancing it. We're just not talking a lot, but we're working on doing this. Fume silica is advancing on a parallel path. This is great. So I feel very comfortable. I think
concurrent development as opposed to sequential is a big key here for you guys. Doing multiple things on the same track as opposed to waiting for one, finishing it, starting the other. That would make no sense. By the way, in our previous conversation we've had, I'm just curious, as you get closer and closer, you've mentioned, you kind of mentioned that the phone rings or people are finding out about HPQ just organically. Are you seeing the interest in HPQ grow, the organic, from the industry, from the market, from potential customers? What's the
once all the big ones know that we exist, now it's more up to me to start delivering the materials and sample.
Wow.
And as I've said, I'm not in a hurry with these guys because you got to understand your position of your position, your negotiation position. Okay. The more I am at the beginning of the R&D or the middle phase of the R&D, and I don't yet have a commercially valuable product, the bigger they have a negotiating position. The more I advance my material and then I get into a position where I have multiple buyers that want to get my material or my process, then I'm a much better negotiation. So the beauty of what we are, we're well financed, we can advance, we have access to capital if we need to grow because people understand that part of the business model. So I feel pretty comfortable. I'm not really worried about it, especially with the price of the raw material going up. And
devil's advocate that sometimes time can be a problem for companies. So in the meantime, you're not too concerned about Georgecom Silicon coming along and perhaps having a new process of their own or some new competitive way of producing, or you're not too worried about competition and new competitors. I know the layman, I mean the status quo, sorry, you're not concerned about it at all. In fact, that's where you're winning. But any concern that as you inch towards getting to that point that somebody else might come through the door?
No, and I'll say why, because we do a lot of technology watch. We look what's going on. I have access to people that have many years of experience into this. There's something happening in silicon. Like there was a bulk of research in the 60s and then sort of died away, and nothing has really been done since the 60s. System have been improved, no really new R&D. There's different approach being tried, but they're all at the lab scale level. They don't have a pathways to commercialization like we do have. The beauty of our process is that it's like we're not reinventing new computers. We're just like going from mainframe to desktop. And that completely changes the dynamic because we now live in a completely different and dynamical environment. Like it keeps moving. So we're not looking at building smelter, we're looking at building reactors. So those issues, yes, there's always could be a risk, but there's a risk from the moment you get up in the morning.
Okay, yeah, well, look, it's worth having that discussion, though. You're right. I mean, but still, where I think it's valuable for everyone watching or listening at home to have that discussion. And I'm not surprised that you guys are watching, and I'm not overly surprised that you're not overly concerned about it, based on what you're watching. But still, I think it's a conversation definitely worth having there. Last question, because I mentioned this at the beginning of the intro, where I said, how long are we going to have HPQ Silicon resources? How long are we going to be calling you that? And the reason is, last press release you put out, it wasn't necessary to do an interview for that, but you received TSX Venture conditional approval to reclassify from tier 2 mining to tier 1 technology, sure. So what's the importance of that, and what happens now as a result of this? Because there's some you have to get done at the AGM, but what's the importance? Is there a big importance? Because I gotta be honest with you, when I look at companies, I never really look at their classification, but maybe there's some other importance there.
Well, there's a lot of funds that are in the ESG and the environmental green technologies that will not touch you because you're a mining company. So there's a very big public that comes into it, and then we've sort of been in a twilight zone for many years because we're a mining company in a regulatory process. So when somebody does a description of us, they declare us as a mining company and they talk about our properties. We don't care about our properties. We actually put them, if you look at our financial statements, we plug them for sales. The moment we close this, we'll sell them. And so that's a very important. And going from tier 2 mining to tier 1 technologies, basically technology. If you look at the scale of the TSX venture, okay, mining there's a heck of a lot of people in mining. Okay, there's not too many people in technology, not too many people in tier 1 technology. If you look at Pyro, when they listed, when I started to do business, they were still a tier 2 technology. There's just a few. There are a few advantages of being a tier 1. One of them is you're in the highest bracket when it comes into it. You're one level below the big board.
Okay.
And it wasn't very complicated for us to get there. We just had to show that we had enough money to get till the end of December 2023. So this is why we did it. So there's a lot of advantage. The biggest advantage for us is going to be going forward. And when we have discussion with financier, and some of them have approached us and says, okay, we want to do, some serious financing with you guys. We get stuck with the fact, if you want to do prospectus financing, we can't do a mining prospectus financing when we're a technology company. So the logic, the steps for us that we are implementing, it doesn't look very exciting, but so we're in change of business. Doing that work means that we've done everything that's required to do an AIF. So we'll then file an AIF in the coming months. And then we will be in a better position. And the timing sort of works for us because it's going to be like end of the year 2022. We'll have results coming out of the work we're doing. We'll be starting to take a look at building a commercial plant. How are we going to finance this and those issues? So you have to think a few steps ahead of the curve. And we'll be looking at staffing up, building up,
And I'm assuming resource is going to be dropped from the name.
Yep. Actually,
after the AGM June 30th, right?
Well, actually, at the AGM, we're asking shareholders to approve our official change of our name from HPQ Silicon Resources to HPQ Silicon Inc. That's it.
Another small step for mankind, another giant step for HPQ Silicon. Last words to you, man. We're going into a long weekend, so this is I thought this is really, considering how the headline of this press release, if you just read that, you think is pretty basic and not much to talk about. I think we came out with some great information. Last word to you as we're heading to the long weekend. What do you want the shareholders to know?
I've never been more confident of where we are, where we're going. I think everything is really falling into the right place. I'm gonna be totally honest, and it's just like the old timer market guy. And it's me because I've been doing this for so many years. I've sit up and down, so many times. If we would have planned this timing wise with regard to market, we find there's a point where the market's overextended, and it can't always go up, and then it needs to take a breather to reprice everything, reset a base. And we've been going through this. The technology has been going through this. The entire market's going to go through it. And eventually, pretty soon, all the talking is going to say, oh, this is overdone. I think we're getting close to this overdone. And then at that moment, well, lo and behold, HPQ Silicon is going to come up and says, okay, we got this new process to make silicone that's cheaper. I can do a higher probability, and you need it for batteries, and you need it for solar. Before, people were going to say, excuse me, I'm panicking. I'm bunkering in my corners. I don't want to invest. It's
important to have a catharsis too, because when you have a catharsis of risk assets, Georgecom Silicon that is pretending to be in the silicon business and just using a lot of great buzzwords, and but sooner or later the market rationalizes, says, okay, you know what, now we're in some compression here, and you clean out the companies that aren't real. So in the long run, that's actually great for HPQ and the other real companies, the ones that survive and stand on their own, are strong because you have more capital allocated to your candidates. All right, buddy. Thanks for coming on today, especially as you have your party shirt on for the long weekend. I feel like we interrupted you, but at just the right time. So have a great long weekend, and we'll next time I guess we see you, it'll be from the plant.
It will be from the plant.
All right, and that's going to be a great background, because it won't be this background, but I presume we're going to be able to see something. I know you.
Well, since the plant we don't show images, you will see. We'll just be next to the power supply that's be zimming away the power into it. You'll see the lights dim. No, I'm just joking, but it's there. There's that sucker will
just don't stick your finger in the socket while we're interviewing. That's all.
If I had longer hairs, my hair might stand up.
Thanks, buddy. Have a great day, and have a great long weekend. To everybody home.
You too.
You've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform. To Bernard Tourion, CEO of HPQ Silicon Resources, soon to be HPQ Silicon, trading in Canada under HPQ, and for friends in the US under HPQFF. For those new to the story, 2 ways to do your due diligence. Get the company's profile page under Agoracom, because there's so many moving parts and elements to HPQ. You need that foundational kind of knowledge first. And then from there, hop over to the HPQ Silicon website and do your deep dive due diligence. Thanks for joining us. Wishing you all a great long weekend, our Canadian friends anyways, and our American friends that'll be in a couple of weeks. But for our Canadians, have a great, safe, long weekend, and see you from the plant next time.
Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel and never missing another great Agoracom small cap video.